Dale Earnhardt Jr. announced the return of the red number 8 Budweiser Chevrolet in late models, but still. As motorsport fans, we are all going collectively insane, myself included, a diehard Dale Jr. fan since the age of 7. And I just realize how crazy it all is. I mean, think of it like this. In any other motorsport or just sport in general, if you're looking at a more local level kind of throwback in any way, it might get met with some, oh, that's cool kind of comments, but nothing too much. But in motorsports, we collectively are frothing at the mouth for this kind of stuff. And this will probably be the number 1 sold diecast of 2024 when it's just, again, a lower level series in comparison to the larger ring of stock car racing, because this is an iconic scheme, because this scheme resonates with people. People connect with it. They remember great things, nostalgia and their member berries, of course, but there's so much that I think we look at this differently than what we have in the modern day. And to me, I kind of want to ask, why don't we get schemes that resonate like this anymore? And how can we get back to this? Well, looking at the why don't we get these kind of reactions nowadays side of it, it's a couple of reasons. Number 1, of course, is the business model. It's hard to spend $18, $20, $25, $30 million a year on a car. The teams are scrounging for money right now, and they'll take it from just about anyone. It's why there's been so many different scam sponsorships in the last couple years, because teams are so desperate, from trucks to Xfinity and Cup alike. And when you do that, you're going to have probably 4, 5, 6, 12 different sponsors a year, depending on what team it is. You can't really have the same paint scheme because every sponsor wants their colors represented. They want their own specific and individualistic kind of paint scheme, and I don't blame them. They should want that. But when you have that, you can't have something recognizable every week. I don't think a lot of people, even back in 2013, were really resonating with Dale Jr.'s Time Warner car. They might have liked the National Guard cars. I love the Budweiser machine, but I really question how many of them remember any kind of car outside of those that wasn't the main sponsors he had and wasn't a throwback. And I think that that's something you see a ton nowadays. And with that, I think another reason why you don't get this kind of resonating factor with it is the popularity of the sport. NASCAR to the Bud 8 times was really an exponentially growing sport. If you look back at attendance numbers through that time and then TV numbers when they became available, NASCAR was growing from the 1940s until the middle of the 2000s. The narrative we have today of ratings going down, of attendance stagnating, all of that, that was something that seemed alien in 2000, in 2005, hell, even in 2007, the last year of the Bud 8 being run. And now you have something completely different. The downturn over time will turn off these big sponsors that people can resonate with. Gone are the days that Budweiser and Miller Lite are on the track. The days that you have Home Depot versus Lowe's, FedEx versus UPS. You would have literal sponsor wars, Coke and Pepsi. You don't have that now because they don't need to be here the way that they used to. NASCAR was part of the cultural zeitgeist of the time. Nowadays, they're an afterthought when it comes to the mainstream. And when you look also at the sponsor's point of view, why tie yourself down to a shrinking brand? Less people are going to be there to remember these schemes to begin with. And why is this even important? Who cares? It's just paint on a car, or it's just a wrap. It's not going to mess at all with the way the racing is, good or bad. And I get that kind of mentality for it, but you got to think of the marketing factor. You need to connect with fans. And how do you connect right off the bat? You connect with the car. I'll ask you all this at home. When you were first watching NASCAR, the first time that maybe your parents clicked onto the channel, you managed to find it, or you just found a video online, what was the first thing you recognized? I would bet money it was one of the cars, or just how many of the cars there were, how bright they were. It was the cars. The drivers you need to sell to keep people there, the cars you need to sell to get them there to begin with, to keep them hooked on the product. Because listen, As much as it doesn't matter with the racing product, an ugly race car is ugly to look at, and people don't want to look at that. We've seen it with so many of the Exalta schemes that William Byron has had, where people just don't like looking at it. It doesn't change a damn thing about what they're seeing other than just the way the color goes into their eyes. And with that too, you can sell your brand to new fans if they're seeing it every week. When I was a kid, growing up, I would see the same probably 25 paint schemes almost every week. Special paint schemes were just that, special. You would have the All-Star race with special paint schemes. Every now and then a throwback. I remember as a Dale Jr. fan, he had a special Daytona car, but for the most part, he was in that red Budweiser 8. And then he'd have a special car maybe for Three Doors Down or one for the MLB All-Star game. But that was it. It was something that really meant something to fans to see, and you would have to go out and buy that diecast. It's the same brand, it just looks a little different. And you know what? That's something that they can get back to. There's been a blueprint for recognizability success in this sport forever. Look back at the iconic schemes in any era. The Petty 43 with that Petty blue. Pearson back in the day with the Wood Brothers and that Gold 21 with the red and white. You look at the Black 3, the Blue Deuce, the Rainbow Warriors, or the one that's on everyone's minds right now, the Budweiser number 8 car. They're recognizable. Somewhat simple, yes, but recognizable. You see them every week, you connect them with the driver, and they're iconic for that reason. So how can this all be fixed, per se? Well, to start with, I think you have to accept them. One, fans just don't accept a lot of schemes anymore. We are a very nostalgic fan base. Listen, I know people didn't like it, but personally, I really liked Joey Logano's 22 scallop scheme. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's boring, he never changes it, but that's what I like about it. You had a scheme that was the same for a decade straight. From 2011 with Kurt Busch all the way until the 2020s with Joey Logano, the 22 car looked the same. You could always point it out on the racetrack. And for that reason, I still hold that that scheme maybe won't be as iconic as some of the more famous ones, but will be remembered by fans rather than the ones that change their schemes every single year. More money to charter teams could fix all of this, could give you maybe better schemes than just scallops to remember. If a sponsor, instead of having to spend 20 to 25 million, had to spend 5 to 10, I think there'd be more of a chance of them sticking around. Now that teams, well, have to charge that much, they're just having to scrounge together everything they can to put the pieces there. They'd probably just charge the same amount of money anyways and just make more money. So how do you fix that? Maybe a cost cap. Not saying it would fix everything, but NASCAR and the teams could completely revamp the industry, kind of modernize it in a way. You have a set amount that you can spend, and the others you bring in, well, that's just extra profit. And with that, maybe you can have a range of sponsor dollars you're able to sell and spend and whatnot. That way, maybe other interested sponsors could come in, have an entire season, and you have recognizable cars the way you do in Formula One nowadays and IndyCar. And other interested sponsors maybe could help NASCAR and the networks advertise. Maybe even segment on the air so they have to limit or even eliminate commercial time. Or maybe it would just add to that if they wanted to. But either way, that's something they could do too. Maybe have everyone working together on this so that you're not having to be desperate for sponsor dollars. It would take time to adjust to a new norm, no matter what it is. But the marketing of changing bigger brands less money at least can have huge dividends. If they don't have to pay as much to have the same amount or more exposure, it's a win instead of a loss. And making money from sponsors mattering less for operations of any series, well, hopefully that could limit or maybe hopefully eliminate pay drivers, strengthening the fields that we see each week in Cup and hopefully eventually Xfinity trucks, and maybe it'll trickle down even to ARCA. That's what I would want. But now I want to know what you'd think. What would you think of just having a single sponsor for a team all year or the majority of the year and making cars more recognizable to the fans? Do you think we'd have a similar effect that the 8 car, the 3 car, 43, all of them had back in the day? Or is it just completely wishful thinking? Let me know down in the comments below. All right, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to my channel members for your continued support. Till next time, have a good one.